214 people. That is how many witnesses there were to the moment I destroyed my best friend's wedding. That is what some people called it afterward. Destroyed. I want to tell you what I call it. But first, the moment itself. 214 people in their finest clothes on a perfect October afternoon. Flowers everywhere, candles, music, the specific golden light that only exists inside churches on autumn Saturday afternoons. My best friend of 16 years was standing at that altar in the most beautiful dress I had ever seen. Radiant is an overused word. It was the right word. I was 4 feet to her left, holding her bouquet because she had handed it to me 30 seconds earlier, wearing the dress she had picked for me 6 months ago in a boutique downtown while we drank champagne at 11 a.m., and she cried a little because she was happy. The priest said the words, "If anyone knows of any reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now, or forever hold your peace." There is always a silence after that. A ritual silence. Nobody speaks at real weddings. Everyone knows that. The silence arrived. I looked at my best friend's face. She was so completely, entirely happy that looking at her was almost painful. And I thought about the secret, the one I had been carrying for 3 weeks, like a stone in my chest. And I said, I need to say something. 214 people turned to look at me. My best friend turned to look at me. The groom turned to look at me. And in his face, for 1/2 of 1 second before he rearranged his expression, I saw the look of a man who knows exactly what is coming. That look confirmed everything. I spoke, and I would do it again, every single time, without hesitation. Stay with me, because what I knew and what happened after I said it is the reason this story has no version where I stay silent. 3 weeks before the wedding, I was at Claire's apartment helping address envelopes. Claire went to the bathroom. Her laptop was open on the table. I was not snooping. A new email had arrived at the top of the inbox. The subject line was visible. It said, "About Saturday." The sender was a woman's name I didn't recognize. And in the preview below, "I know you said we need to stop talking, but I need you to know that what you told me last week." The preview ended there. Claire came back. She saw the email. She saw me looking at the screen. She closed the laptop. Quickly, too quickly. She said, "Wedding spam. People are insane." She said it lightly, conversationally, and handed me another envelope. I addressed it, said nothing, but I had seen the sender's name. And when I got home that evening, I searched it on every platform I could find. What I found took 2 hours and left me sitting on my bathroom floor at midnight, holding my phone trying to understand what I was looking at. Daniel had been engaged before, not once, twice, to 2 different women, in the same pattern each time, devoted at the start, distant toward the end, gone before they understood what was happening. Both women, Sophia and Rachel, had eventually found each other online. They had compared timelines. The overlaps were not accidental. Daniel had not simply ended 2 engagements. He had been in multiple relationships simultaneously each time, managing each woman's reality so carefully that none of them saw the full picture until it was too late. Claire was about to become the 3rd. I called Sophia that night. She picked up. I told her who I was. There was a silence. Then she said, "I have been wondering if anyone would call." She sent me everything she had, screenshots, dates, a timeline. I read it all. Then I spent 3 weeks deciding what to do with it. I want to tell you exactly what I considered in those 3 weeks, because this was not a simple decision. I considered telling Claire directly, 3 times I picked up the phone, 3 times I put it down. Each time I stopped for the same reason. She would tell Daniel, and Daniel would manage it. He had managed 2 previous women out of his life completely. He was very good at managing. The venue deposits, the dress, the invitations, all the weight of a wedding already in motion is a powerful argument for believing what you want to believe. If I told her privately, I was giving him the opportunity to get ahead of the story. I considered saying nothing, letting her marry him, being there for the pieces when it happened again. I sat with that option longest, and I could not do it. 16 years, every version of each other. The 2 a.m. calls, the hospital waiting rooms, the champagne at 11 a.m. while she cried happy tears over a dress. If the situation were reversed, if she knew something about someone I was about to marry, I would want her to speak. Even if I was furious, even if it destroyed the day, even if it took months to forgive, I would want the truth. So I stood in that church for 2 hours before the priest said those words, asking myself every 15 minutes if I was absolutely certain. Every 15 minutes, I was. When he said, "Speak now or forever hold your peace," and the ritual silence arrived, I looked at Daniel's face. For 1/2 of 1 second, his eyes moved to mine. He knew. Mine said, "Watch me." I said, "I need to say something." I spoke for 4 minutes. Calm. No accusations. Just facts. Names, dates, a pattern, and where the documentation was. Then I stopped. The church was completely silent. Claire looked at me, then at Daniel, then back at me. She said, "Is this true?" She was asking me, not him. I said, "Yes." She handed me her bouquet. She walked out a side door. Daniel followed. 40 minutes later, Claire came back. Without him. She looked at me and said, "Get me out of here." I got her out of there. Claire and I did not speak for 6 weeks. I understood that completely. The person who delivers devastating news is not immediately who you want to hug. On week 7, she called. She said, "I need to ask you something." I said, "Okay." She said, "Did you know at the rehearsal dinner?" I said yes. She said, "Why didn't you tell me then?" I said, "Because you would have talked yourself out of believing it. And he would have helped you. I needed you to hear it in a place where the only thing left to do was decide." A long silence. Then she said, "I hate that you're right." I said, "I know." She said, "Thank you." We talked for 3 hours. That was 2 years ago. Claire is in a different relationship now. One that is honest in ways she can actually verify. She is happy in a way that the wedding day version of her could never have been, because it would have been built on something false. Daniel, I found out later, had been seeing someone else throughout the entire engagement. Sophia had been right about the pattern. It would have happened to Claire too. The guests who were there that day are divided about what I did. Some think I was brave, some think I was wrong. Some think it wasn't my place. Here is what I think. I think there is a version of friendship that protects itself by staying quiet, that weighs the discomfort of speaking against the damage of silence, and chooses silence because silence is easier. I am not that kind of friend. 16 years of 2 a.m. calls and hospital waiting rooms and champagne at 11 a.m. That is not a relationship you protect by staying quiet when it matters most. I spoke because she would have done it for me. I spoke because the truth, however badly timed, however public, however painful in the moment, is always kinder than the alternative. The truth is almost never convenient, but it is always, eventually, the most loving thing. If you have ever had someone stand up for you when standing up costs them something, you know what that is worth. New story every day. Subscribe so you never miss one. Just wait.